Hi, this is Beverly Lang of Diversified Business Solutions. Today I'm going to walk you through how to set up a new employee with their standard state and federal withholdings, any miscellaneous additions or deductions, and how to assign an appropriate class so that you can do more detailed payroll reporting. I'm currently using QuickBooks Desktop and Assisted Payroll platform because it integrates with Desktop. For those of you unfamiliar with the Assisted Payroll platform, this is an offering by Intuit where they will handle all of your state and federal tax filings, tax payments, as well as preparation of W-2s at the end of the year. So it is not a do-it-yourself payroll. Intuit handles all of that for you. So to get started, we're going to jump up to Employees. We're going to come down to the Employee Center. You'll see three tabs open up: Employees, Transactions, and Payroll. I want to draw your attention to Payroll and show you a resource called Hiring Forms. This is going to give you the most current up-to-date Federal I-9, Federal 4, and Direct Deposit Authorization form. Simply click on the form you need. It'll open up in PDF. You can print it off and supply it to your employees. Once you've gathered all the pertinent information and you're ready to add your new employee to payroll, simply go back to the Employees tab. Directly above, you'll see the option to add new employee. This is going to open up a window with 6 additional tabs of information that we need to complete in order to set your employee up. The first is the Personal tab, so we're going to start with their personal information like their name, their social security number, their gender, their date of birth, and you should be able to get all this information off the forms that they've completed. Their marital status, yes, they are a U.S. citizen, and their ethnicity is white. They are not disabled. We do have an I-9 on form, and they are not a veteran. Once this is completed, simply click down on the address and contact info and go ahead and add their mailing address. This is where they are going to want to receive their W-2s at the end of the year. I'm going to put in a telephone number if we have one, and put in an email. If you have an emergency contact, go ahead and enter it down here and choose the relationship as spouse. With this being completed, we can go to the third tab called Additional Info. On here, it's going to ask for an account number or an employee ID. If you don't assign employee ID numbers, don't worry about it, just leave it blank. Here you're going to see billing rate level. This is only applicable in the premier versions of Contractor, Professional Services, and Accountants Edition. If you're not utilizing one of those softwares, you won't see this. The billing rate here, we can drop down and see what's available or simply add new. This is going to give you the ability to create a billing rate level for this employee to be billed back to your customers. It can be a fixed hourly rate, so for any service item they perform, they get charged a certain dollar amount, or you can choose the custom hourly rate where you see all of your service items and then you can create a billing rate for each item individually. Because we're not going to be using that for this employee, I'm going to leave it blank. Over to the right, you're going to see custom fields. These are predefined fields that have already been set up for the last review date, the supervisor, and the department. So I'm going to put her in marketing. If you wanted to add an additional field, all you do is simply hit Define Fields. Maybe you wanted to know what shift she works. So you type shift, put a check mark under employee because that's the field you want to see it show up in. Hit OK, and now you'll see it populate here. So I'm going to put that she's working the first shift. With this being completed, we'll jump to the fourth tab called Payroll Info. The first selection here is your payroll schedule. Again, you can drop down to see that most of your employees are on semi-monthly. However, for this new department, we're going to be paying them hourly and we're going to be paying them weekly. So we're going to hit Add New. We're going to put in that this is a weekly payroll schedule. We're going to drop this down and choose weekly. We're going to say that the pay period ended on last Friday and she'll be paid on this Friday for the previous week. I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to give me a notice that this schedule has been set up and that I can assign it to other employees by going into that employee to this Payroll Info tab and changing it here. The next option I have is class. Again, you can drop down and see what classes we have available. This is typically going to be your department so that you can break out your payroll reporting by class to see what each department is running. Since we don't have marketing, I'm going to hit Add New. I'm going to create a class called Marketing and assign that to this individual. Next, you're going to have your earnings. This is where you're going to choose either hourly or salary, vacation, sick, holiday. We're going to drop down and see what I have available. I do not have a hourly for marketing, so I'm going to hit add new. It's going to open up the payroll item wizard. I'm going to simply read through this and pick the most appropriate answer. So I'm looking for an hourly wage. It's going to be regular pay. I'm going to call it marketing, HR for hourly, and hit finish, and now it's created that. So I can put in $10 because that's what she's going to get paid per hour. Next, I want to make sure that I have an overtime rate just in case she were to ever do that. Since I don't have an overtime for marketing, I'm going to hit add new. It's going to open that payroll wizard again. I'm going to choose hourly. This time I'm going to select overtime. I'm going to call it marketing OT and choose time and a half and finish, and it will automatically calculate that for me. Over to the right hand side, you're going to see additions, deductions, and company contributions. Because she's in the marketing department, I know that she's going to be doing some stuff that's going to be outside of the office. Therefore, she will be getting mileage reimbursement. So I'm going to select mileage reimbursement and put that she's going to be paid 53.5 cents per mile. I also know that she elected to get health insurance, so I'm going to select that. Her contribution is going to be $35 per pay period, so I'm going to put that in. If you needed to add a new addition or deduction, you would simply hit the add new and walk through this payroll item setup. So we'll put in that we're going to do an addition. We're going to call it marketing materials, and this is going to actually be compensation. You can go down through here and pick all of the different items. It's going to give you a brief description of what that item is for. So if you're not sure, you can read through them to determine which is best. This is going to actually be compensation for her. Next. And I'm just going to walk through it. And I'm going to give her $250. And this is for her to spend however she wants to on marketing materials to help her do her job. But because I only want it to be a one-time occurrence, I'm going to put a limit in of $250. So it'll add this to her next paycheck, but once it reaches the limit dollar amount, it will no longer add it to her paycheck. So now that we've set everything up here that we need to, you'll see that there's 3 buttons above. One is direct deposit. If the employee has elected to be on direct deposit, you would simply hit this button and put in their account information, both the account number and routing number. With assisted payroll, you can distribute your paycheck into 2 different bank accounts. So if you wanted to put part of it into your checking account and part of it into your savings, you can divide it up accordingly. The second button here is going to be taxes. We're going to go ahead and select that. And then based on the federal W-4 that they completed, we're going to fill out this information. She is elected to be single with 1 allowance, and she elected to have an additional $25 withheld. So I'm going to put $25 right here. Then I'm going to choose the state tab. She is in the state of Alabama. She's still, again, selected single with 1 allowance. And she chose no extra withholding, so I'm going to leave that at 0. I'm going to go to the other tab, and because she's not a California employee, we're going to take that out. I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to add the appropriate Alabama assessment. So I'll hit OK. And the third and final tab is sick and vacation. So if you offer sick time and vacation time, you would set them up individually. If you only offer PTO, which is a combination of sick and vacation, then you would put them under the vacation tab. So you have 3 different options on how you're going to accrue this. You can either give them a flat rate of hours at the beginning of the year, or they can accrue based on paycheck or hours per paycheck. In this particular instance, we do it every paycheck. She is a brand new employee, so she has no hours available and she has no used hours. The hours that she's going to accrue per paycheck is going to be 3.33. And you saw the little notice there when I use more than 2 decimal points. You can only have up to 2 decimal points. And the max number of hours that she can accrue is going to be 80 per year. You have the option to reset those hours, so if it's a use or lose, which most cases it is, you would click this reset hours at each new year. So come January, her hours would go back to 0 and she would start accruing again. and then you select OK. Now that we've completed everything on this tab, we're going to jump to the Employee Info tab. This is basically just a little bit of an HR component for you to use. It gives you the ability to put their hire date. If they're a rehire, you can put their original hire date. You can put when they were terminated. You can choose if they're a full-time regular employee, officer employee, statutory employee, or an owner, full-time or part-time, if they're exempt or non-exempt, and if they're a key employee, yes or no. And again, this is for reporting. You also have job details over here, so you can put their title, supervisor, a job description, and a target bonus if you have this information. There's a tab for leave of absence should they get hurt and need to take time off from work, or if they should go on some type of Family Medical Leave Act. You can put that information in here and keep track of it. There's also a termination tab where you can put their last day work, the last day of benefits. Maybe they choose to have COBRA for 3 months after the fact. You can put the date in here so that you can run a report to know when to turn those benefits off. You can also put their release date, the termination type, whether they quit or they were terminated, if they're eligible for rehire, if you're going to protest unemployment or not, and if their severance package was paid. So once this is completed, you can jump down to the final tab, which is your Workman's Comp. You can assign a Workman's Comp code here if you want to track the hours by Workman's Comp code to make your Workman's Comp audit a little bit easier to do. If you don't want to do this, that's fine. Just simply leave it blank. So once this is all completed, you're going to hit OK. And now you can see that we have created Debbie J. Smith with all of the pertinent information required. Her state and federal withholdings, her miscellaneous additions and deductions, as well as the class that she is to be reporting to.